Hello, you, and welcome back to a Voice of the Vic podcast. I'm your host, Ben Ayton, and this is our second episode in a brand new series that we're calling Watford A to Z. Each week, we'll be going through the alphabet to discuss Watford-related topics that's associated with the letter of the week. This week, the letter is B, and we'll take it in turns to give us to give our Watford-related topics. At the end of the podcast, we'll vote amongst ourselves on who we believe has won this week's topic. If the vote ends on a tie, the vote will be decided by the host. Mike won last week, so he's off to a flying start. There's 1-0 up for Mike. All of us are playing catch up, but luckily there's lots of letters left to play for. Joining me tonight for our second episode, like I said, is Caity, Joe and Mike. Plus, we've also got a voice note from Cam, so he's involved again. Again, he's still pretty on that massive 10-mile run, but he hopefully will be joining us very shortly on one of these episodes. Let's just touch base with everyone. Joe, how are you doing, mate? You okay? You looking forward to this one?
Yeah, I am actually. Yeah, I've got a good topic for this one. So yeah, looking forward to getting stuck into it. How about yourself?
Yeah.
Doing all right?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, mate. Really looking forward to doing this. I really enjoyed doing that last one. We were still saying off air, but this is probably one of the best things we've done for a very long time. Just a bit light-hearted fun, just to reminisce about certain topics and get those conversations flowing. Still laughing a little bit over Caity's attractive Watford players, but she's got a better one this week. She's got a good solid B, so I'm looking forward to this one. But yeah, I want to see your best pitches, everyone. I want to see you try and win us over on why your B is better than everyone else's. So we're going to jump straight in, and we will go to Cam first. Mike, can you hit that big button, please?
Yeah, here we go.
The letter B that I'm bringing to the table here is Ben Manga. Now, I am still absolutely furious with how this went down. Obviously, he came with great intrigue. He'd done wonders at Eintracht Frankfurt, got them into Europe with his recruitment. And I'm thinking, Watford are back. We are going to start recruiting well. We are going to make money, and we are going to climb up the league table. And that is quite the opposite of how it turned out, which I'm really still bitter about, to be honest. So, yeah, there's a lot of contrasting stories about what went on there. There were stories that, we had loads of great players, Cameron Archer, Garnacho, players like that lined up. And then he came in and vetoed it all to sign players like João Ferreira. But whatever happened, we really don't know. There are other stories that he had no input whatsoever, and he was essentially sidelined for Cristiano Gioretta. But yeah, that's one I'm still not over. I don't think I'll ever be over it. And yeah, really, really had to bring this one up. So keen to hear what everyone else thinks of him.
It's not bitter, is he, Cam? Caity, what's your thoughts on Ben Manga on Cam's pick? It's a little bit more Watford related than his last one, but to be fair, he did keep it. He did find some loopholes to make it work last time for letter A. But what did you make of Ben Manga for Cam's this week?
Yeah, it's a good shout. I mean, it's one of the big questions surrounding Watford in most recent years. Like Cam said, we'll never really know what actually happened with him. We were sort of promised a lot and he poorly delivered. So who knows? But yes, it is. I would say that it's up there with one of the great questions of what actually happened to someone at the club, because I want to know. But yeah, no, I thought it was good.
Ben's done a classic thing of following up on you.
I've got to take that mic mute button off, don't I? I agree. I kind of forgot about Ben Manga until Cam brought him up to me yesterday, and I was like, bloody hell, he wasn't even through the doors for long. He was only there a few months.
Yeah.
I remember he was there for one of the fans' events as well. But yeah, it's strange how it all worked out behind the scenes. Joe, do you remember much about Ben Manga or what he was promising that he could do or wasn't allowed to do?
Like Cam said, it was all really exciting when it happened, and we all was like, "Oh, here we go! We got someone here who's going to recruit good players, and he was out the door quicker than I got into Vicarage Road at one point. It was. I'll be honest, I actually totally even forgot about him until he just come up on the screen.
It's thrown you under a bus a little bit, hasn't it? But yeah, Ben Manga, Mike, he came with a very high profile of what he's done in his previous jobs. I think Watford fans got maybe carried away. I'll use the terms of carried away. I think we was maybe treating it a little bit to Football Manager, going, "Oh, we signed all of these players before. Look what he's done with these. He's going to do the same with Watford," but it just never really worked at Vicarage Road for him.
Yeah, I think rightly so as well, people getting carried away, because this move shouldn't really have a team like Watford. I don't know how we got him, how we enticed him in. I think even the Frankfurt fans were sort of saying if he was going to leave, it will probably be to a big Premier League team, because he really did change things for Frankfurt to go from sort of being average sort of German side to them. I think, well, they won the Conference League. I think they beat West Ham in the final, or they beat Rangers. Rangers. That was it. Sorry, yeah. So, you know, he did wonders for him, and some of the players that he signed at Frankfurt then went on to make sort of big money moves to I think one of them went to PSG for a lot of money. So yeah, I think obviously, you know, like I said, that's got to excite a lot of people, and for one reason or another, it's one of the many things to add to the list of the crazy goings on upstairs in the boardroom at Watford, because the fact that we had the three players, Archer, Garnacho, and I can't remember who the other one was now, but we had three sort of players coming in that were, you know, they would have really done well to then sign Britta Sambalonga, João Ferreira, and someone else, Henrik Arujo. You know, it's contrasting opposites. So, yeah, we'll never know. But one thing I do know is he was the reason that Troy didn't return. So, in my eyes, he's a bad man.
Palestri, the other one, wasn't it?
Bad man. Yes, Palestri of Manchester United, another winger, wasn't he?
Yeah,
that was him.
That's it. So Cam's off to a solid start. B for Cam is Ben Manga. I will go next, and B for me is this guy, Britos. Everyone remember Britos? Again, I've put a lot of work into this, and I've written another little speech. So hopefully I'll win you over with my Miguel Britos. So on the 22nd of July 2015, Miguel Britos joined newly promoted Watford on a 3-year deal from Serie A side Napoli. He made an instant impact for the Hornets when he was sent off on his debut against Preston North End in the League Cup for elbowing Bailey Wright in the face. If you mention Miguel Britos to any Watford fan, they'll automatically be brought back to Watford versus Brighton on the 26th of August. The sun was shining at Vicarage Road, and Miguel Britos was shown a first half red card for a high challenge on Anthony Knockaert. Some described this tackle as the worst challenge in the history of a Premier League. Others described it as something you've seen on Crime Watch. The Uruguayan centre-back produced good numbers at WD18, where he was sent off 3 times in 11 home games for Watford. Britos left Watford after 3 years and retired from football in the summer of 2019, aged 33, due to a lack of motivation. During his spell at Vicarage Road, he made 74 appearances, scoring twice, and was sent off 4 times. Guys, if you could describe Britos in one word, what would it be? Caity?
Carnage.
Mike?
Red.
Joe?
my hero.
There's 2 words.
That's
Yeah,
2
I'm saying, yeah,
hero.
I'm saying, yeah, for doing what he did to Anthony Knockaert.
Yes.
The challenge. It was a little high, wasn't it, Mike?
A little bit, yeah, but it was also fucking brilliant.
I know.
Do you know what?
the quotes I found of people talking about it were obviously non-Watford fans, but at the time, obviously off the back of what Knockaert did in that playoff semi-final for Leicester City, I think most Watford fans absolutely loved the challenge from Britos. Obviously, we don't want injury to happen. Knockaert actually got up to carry on playing for the rest of the game, so it wasn't. Yeah, he didn't, and it wasn't a career-ending challenge, but just to put one on Knockaert, I think he will always be in like Joe's eyes as a hero.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and they don't make centre backs like him anymore. And I know some of those stats are crazy, you know, the 4 red cards and whatnot. But do you know what? On the part, I don't know if anyone else agrees. I thought he was quite a solid defender for us, and he was just no nonsense, wasn't he? You know, you think of some of the centre backs that we've signed since the Pozzos have come in, and for me, he's one of the better ones, definitely. I seem to remember, and Joe will definitely be able to tell me, he either scored, I think he scored against Sunderland, I want to say, and I think, yeah,
1-0 win.
Yeah, did he score one of the ones against Liverpool?
Yeah, the 3-3 draw last minute was 92nd minute.
Yeah. So
he was basically under the crossbar, wasn't he, when he pushed it over the line?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I got to just point out, I went up to Preston that night on his debut. I come back raging. I was like, "Why have I driven all this way?"
Do you know the best thing about that is the reason that Britos didn't play sooner for us, because he was serving a ban from Italy.
Yeah, he was.
For violent conduct, and then he comes back first game and elbows this guy in the face and gets a straight red. So
didn't he headbutt Morata in Italy, and that's why he was suspended for a long period?
Yeah, he was. He was suspended for quite a lengthy time, wasn't it? Like 8 or 10 games or so, wasn't it?
Yeah. I just love that he's retired due to a lack of motivation.
Put Morata in front of him, that'll motivate him again.
Exactly. But yeah, what a character. But I agree with you, Mike. He was a solid centre half when he wasn't suspended. Probably one of our better centre halves that we've had in the Premier League, and a good signing. It's a shame that he obviously was a bit of a red mist kind of person. But yeah, I love Britos. Joe, any memories or anything you want to add on Miguel Britos?
No, I mean, like Mike said, he was one of those kind of no nonsense, and you knew what you was going to get with him. He did what he said on the tin, kind of players. Obviously, the you know, he only scored 2 goals, and they were basically on the line. If I remember rightly, the Sunderland one, he was literally about a yard out and knocked it after it coming back off the crossbar, and he was underneath as you said, the crossbar for the Liverpool one. So I think he was unlucky a couple of times. If I remember rightly, I think he hit the woodwork a couple of times with some good efforts. But yeah, the one standout memory was driving out to Preston and seeing him in the League Cup and us losing 1-0 and him getting sent off for an. I mean, it was the most. As soon as he did it, I was like, "What has he just done?" Even I saw that, and I was near the back of the stand.
And this is what I'm on about as well, taking it back to last week's episode for week A when I brought up away days. Joe will forever have that memory that he'll cherish for the rest of his life with Miguel Britos elbowing a Preston player, and then he's had to drive all the way back down south off the back of that raging. This is what football's all about. It's these memories, and luckily Britos only 74 appearances, but he's gave us plenty of memories, and yeah, we think of him very highly. Right, so next we'll go to Mike. Mike, what is B for you?
B for me is no other than Brighton away 2014-15 season. So not only was that season within itself amazing, because we had the excitement a couple of seasons before of the Pozzos taking over, all these new players coming in, the sexy football under Zola. We then had a bit of a lull the next season. we obviously missed out in the playoff final in that 12-13 season, and rightly so. I think if we'd have gone up that season, we'd have come crashing back down, and it would have been quite a, it would have been interesting. Do those players stay with us? Do they go and try again with a load of new players? Yada, yada, yada. So then 14-15 has been brilliant. And I remember the week before this game, we had Birmingham at home and we won 1-0, I think it was. That man on the front of your picture there, for those that are watching on YouTube, Craig Cathcart with a brilliant overhead kick against Birmingham. That could have been another B for me. But he just topped off a brilliant season. And for those that don't remember, obviously, we were the early kickoff. And then it was the 3:00 games, if I've got that correctly. And we weren't actually expecting to go up that game because of permutations elsewhere. So let me just remind you, Middlesbrough were playing Fulham and Norwich were playing Rotherham. Now, Rotherham had been deducted points that season and were in a relegation scrap. So they needed every point that they could get. Fulham, on the other hand, I think they were languishing in mid-table somewhere. So they really didn't have anything to fight for. So obviously we win 2-0. Troy Deeney with a routine Troy Deeney goal. Brilliant little sort of footwork by Troy to sort of send his man to the shops down to the left and then finish it with his right foot. Really, really nice finish. And then Mate Vidra doing what Mate Vidra does best, especially at Brighton, because he scored a similar goal at Brighton a few seasons prior, where he absolutely burnt his man for pace and slotted in front of the travelling contingent, which was superb, by the way. I wasn't there. I know Ben was there, and I'm sure you'll tell us some memories from that day, Ben. But what a game. I mean, from personal point of view, I went round to the old man's. We watched the game together. We won. We were buzzing. And we were like, we've only got to win one more game because we didn't expect to go up. I then went back. I think I went to play football for a bit. I was buzzing. I was so buzzing. And I was like, one more win. So I go home. I'm living in Birmingham at the time. And I've got Gillette Soccer Saturday on. And I'm watching the 3:00 come in. Well, Ross McCormack, who had put a massive dent in our automatic promotion hopes, only 2 seasons before for Leeds United when they came and wrecked the party on the last game of the season to deny us second place instead of Hull City. He turned hero for Watford because he scored a hat-trick and Fulham beat Middlesbrough 4-3. They sent their goalkeeper up. I'm not going to pronounce his name. The Greek fella with the long name starting with K. They sent him up last minute. They had a corner. They wanted to score. They got hit on the counter. They lost 4-3. And it was all about late goals that game because Jordan Bowery for Rotherham United was the man to get a late goal, a late equaliser against Norwich, which there you guessed it. Middlesbrough dropped points. Norwich dropped points. Watford were promoted to the Premier League. And we all saw the scenes. The coach arrived back at the training ground straight from Brighton and they got the news. They were all waiting for the full-time whistles. I myself, the first thing I did, I was at home on my own. I rang my dad. We were screaming at each other down the phone. We couldn't believe it was happening. We obviously expected it to happen, but not as soon as it did. We expected it to go down to the last game of the season, and fucking thank God it didn't because of how that worked out. And then the next phone call I made was to every lad that I knew in my phone book that we went out on the beers with. Are you coming out tonight? Are you coming out tonight? Watford have just got promoted. What are you doing? They're all Blues fans. They probably drew or lost and they're like 16th, 17th. They're like, it's just another Saturday for them. I'm ringing around everyone. We've got to go out. We've got to go out. I end the night in Potworld in Birmingham on Broad Street. Bump into Lee Novak, who was playing for Birmingham City that night. He was a bit of a mardy bastard, but that's a story for another day. And yeah, I ended up thoroughly drunk, celebrating Watford's promotion. And yeah, a superbly tremendous day. And one that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
That was fantastic, Mike. That was brilliant. That brings back the memories. What a day.
But you were there.
Joe, I I imagine you was there as well.
It, you know what? I'll give you a little. Can you see? Hold on. Can you see me there in the grey look?
Oh yeah.
That's me on the. That was on the BBC highlights in the evening, but I was picked out on Sky Sports earlier in the day. Everyone said to me, "Oh, we can see you going crazy in the away end." But yeah, it's one of the. It definitely, probably, arguably in my top 3 days of supporting Watford, and then, obviously, to get back to Watford, to make the decision and get back to Watford and celebrate with all the players in the pub in the evening was just.
Oh, was you in the pub with them, Joe?
Yeah. Yeah, look. You can see. Here we go.
Oh, amazing. I wish we had this earlier. We could.
Troy Deeney doing the old speech, Doyley breaking the light there. We got thrown out at that point.
Oh, amazing. I remember watching all the videos that evening and the following morning. Did you, Joe, because you was there, did you stay to see the final scores come in Brighton and then you head off to Watford, or were you on your way back?
We was on the pier actually when the scores were coming in, and I remember watching it on Sky Go at the time, and the people I was with, my friend's family, they were having, because we went to the game, they went to the pier and had some lunch, and there was loads of other fans, obviously because the game finished early. There was loads of other fans in there like eating at the time, and obviously they've got this queue system coming out, and obviously the thing come in that Fulham had won, and obviously Norwich had dropped points as well, and they announced, Jeff Stelling was like, Watford had been promoted. I just remember running past the queue and the person who was doing the front of house and just running into the restaurant and going, fucking hell, we've been promoted, and literally all the Watford fans, the place erupted. It was brilliant. Yeah, it was a moment that I don't think I'll ever forget, to be fair. It was an amazing day, and like I say, I don't know if you stuck around at the ground after, but the coach came past and all the fans were outside the back of the stadium.
I was on the green bank watching the coach come through, and the fans were all lining the walkway and on the bank just singing towards them, the coach, and it was so good, the togetherness that day. And like you, it's probably one of the best days of supporting this football club. One of the memories I'll take to my grave. Like, honestly, so many different memories that day. It was such a good atmosphere. I think I drove down, and we had a hotel booked in Brighton, so I didn't end up going back to Watford afterwards. We stayed in Brighton, so we watched the game, then hung around outside and saw the coach come through, and we were singing towards him. Then we made our way down to the seafront area, and there's like a row of pubs on a bit of a strip, and the whole high street was like closed off because Watford fans were just in the middle of the street, and people was looking through the windows trying to see the TVs, and then the goals went in, and then you realised that Watford actually got promoted to the Premier League, and it was just carnage. It was fantastic. I can't imagine it. Like, you were just going around hugging people that you've never met before, and there was like grown men crying as well. It was such a joyful experience to do. And one story I would like to share with all of you here, and Mike's probably heard this before or even seen the video of it, but I said if Watford got promoted that day, I would end up in the sea, and I stuck to my promise. So that we went down onto the beach. Bear in mind that the Brighton's beach, if you haven't been there, it's full of pebbles. So I thought it would be very sensible to strip down to my boxers after having a skin full of ciders, and I've ran from the end of the beach or pebbles all the way to the sea, and it's probably about 150 meter stretch, running absolutely pissed out my face on pebbles. I would not recommend it to my worst enemy. The following day I could not feel my feet, But I jumped into the sea in my boxers, freezing cold. But I did it because I said that if Watford got promoted, I'll end up in the sea. And there was a guy in there, stark bollock naked in the sea as well. And he looked so drunk. He was literally just lying on the floor. I thought we'd have to send someone in to try and drag him out. But it just this is what I mean about football. It's just, it makes you do crazy things, and it's the memories that it takes with you for like the rest of your life. And what a day. Like, we'll never ever forget that. Like, I carried on drinking all day and got chucked out of Oceania at night because I was just throwing up everywhere. Like, that's what football's all about. Caity, were you obviously a bit too young to remember the promotion to the Premier League then? Did your dad tell you much about it, or were you following Watford a little bit at that stage?
Yeah, no. I remember what I think we watched. It's funny, fuzzy memory, but I think we watched it at home. I'm not sure what my dad was doing, but I do remember watching it because I remember my dad had like all the other like Soccer Saturday like things on at the same time, and he was like, "Oh, we have to wait for the other games," and I was like, I had no idea what was going on, but I do remember watching it, and I remember him obviously celebrating. I'm pretty sure he went up to Watford afterwards. But yeah, it was obviously a very momentful day.
It certainly was one that will always live in our memories. And there's Joe.
Remember these two?
Is that Minari and Gilmartin?
Yeah, the conversation. We obviously got photos of all the players that evening, but the conversation I had with these two blokes before this photo was just unbelievable. Like, Minari just was the absolute bollocks of a bloke. Like, he was just so funny and so nice, like a really nice bloke. And Gilmartin as well, obviously now he's a coach at Ipswich now, isn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, good, like you say, quality night. But I'll tell you what, one thing that I will forever be thankful for that day and that game is that sand divot from that header. Because if it wasn't for that sand divot and that header, then it would have been a totally different story, and the ball would have gone in the net, not wide.
And this is why I wanted to do this new series as well, because it gets people discussing things that we've probably forgotten about, and it's all in the past, but it's generating good conversation. But also, do you remember that Jukanovic made an early change as well by taking off Caity Anya as well, didn't he? Because tactically, we weren't there in that first 10, 15 minutes, were we, Mike?
No, we weren't. I remember that sub, and I remember him. I think he did it on more than one occasion as well, if I remember correctly, over the course of the season.
Wasn't afraid, was he?
No, exactly. And we often talk about on here about Clevs and does he make the right subs? And some weeks we'll say, yeah, brilliant. Other weeks we'll say, oh, maybe he was a bit late doing that. But Jukanovic was, cutthroat with it, and it really paid off. And just on Chris O'Grady, he was the chap that his header bounced because of the sand. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he went to school in the village where my mum lives now, and I lived for so long and still work, Eastleigh in Nottinghamshire. I believe he went to school with my mate Dan. I think he was a few years older than him. But yeah, he as soon as that got mentioned a few years ago, when I found out, the first thing I thought was he was the one that missed that header. So thank God he did. But honestly, I mean, I was planning to come down to that game with you, Ben, but for one reason or another, I didn't, and ended up in Potwell with a load of Blues fans, and I was probably the happiest man in the whole of Birmingham that day, because it was, I'd do anything to relive those again, because, the next time that we got promoted was in lockdown, and it just, you couldn't go out as such, and hopefully in the not so distant future we'll get that feeling again.
No, definitely. What a solid B there, Mike. Well done. I'm really looking forward to the next one as well. This is Joe, and he's actually gone for a double B. So, Joe, I'll take it over to you. What is B for you, Joe?
So B for me is Brentford and Bolton away. We had them 2 games in 4 days, one the 10th of February, one Valentine's Day being Bolton. And both were injury time winners, one to win a game 2-1 and one to win a game 4-3. We'll start with Brentford first of all. Obviously, that was on the Tuesday night. Ben, we were discussing the other day. I know you were there, like myself, and oddly both at the very front, just the other side of the goals to each other, which is just crazy.
Crazy.
Absolutely crazy. Yeah, obviously Brentford were in the playoffs going into that game, so it's a very, very tough. We knew we were going to be in for a very, very tough game. Brentford went down to 10 men in the first half. Jake Bidwell was sent off for a challenge, which
on Leung, wasn't it?
I think it was Leung. Yeah. If I remember rightly, I don't really think it was a red card. I do think the player was a little bit hard done by, but it galvanised the Brentford fans. And obviously, in the midway through the second half, that man Andre Gray didn't do well. I can't say he didn't do anything for us because he did do some things for us. But one of the things he didn't really do for us was run through on goal and hit a rasping effort into the back of the net. Sent Griffin Park wild, and it was. Don't know if you remember, Ben, but it was tough being in that away end at that point because you kind of thought we weren't really getting a sniff that night. It was tough.
Difficult evening, even though they was down to 10 men. That was frustrating us. We couldn't create anything.
Yeah, and as you can see, obviously from that picture, Griffin Park, the fans are on top of the pitch almost, and it makes it very hard when you're in stadiums like that. That's why grounds like QPR and stuff are still hard to go to because they've got fans that are right on top of you, and it makes it a difficult atmosphere. And then shortly after that, Watford got a penalty for us to equalise. Have you got it, Ben? Is it there to play?
I haven't. No, I couldn't upload it. But
that's all right.
Yeah,
that's
Joe sent me it yesterday,
right.
and it's Troy Deeney taking his penalty. Not the best penalty I've ever seen of Troy Deeney, Joe.
It was weird because it was one of those where you never really see him do it. He tried to place it. He tried to place it in the bottom corner, and he kind of just, you could see when you watch the run up, he kind of decided which way he was going to go in the run up. So it made it very easy for Button to make the save. And obviously, when he made that save, we kind of all thought, this isn't going to be our night. But then up steps our God, our saviour, Odion Igalo, with an equaliser. I mean, that was some effort from Igalo in towards the end of that game, not only to equalise, but the effort from a Vidra cross to win it. And all I can remember about that winner was just getting crushed because we were at the front of the away end, all the fans, because it was all standing. Yeah, everyone just piled forward, and I just remember being like, "Crikey, this is just nuts!" And then the fans were just like on cloud nine because we weren't expecting it. I think I wouldn't say we deserved it. I think a draw was a fair result that night. Overall, I don't think either team deserved to win, but we were obviously going for a promotion then, and that was obviously a really important. A really important win for us. And then going on to Bolton, didn't really know what to expect from Bolton, if I'm being completely honest. I certainly didn't expect the 4-3 victory. I don't know if you remember, Mike, you'll probably remember this, as I know you're a keen goalkeeper. Aurelio Gomez triple save.
Unbelievable.
That was probably, I mean, obviously, winning in the last minute was memorable, but the fact that he saved those 3 shots in quick succession was
one of the shots from Zach Clough.
Yeah, he scored as well, I think.
Yeah, Zach Clough got 2 goals, actually. He got 2 goals. Obviously, Igalo set us on our way that day, put us 1-0 up. Clough equalised, made it 1-1 before. Well, in fact, Lafondra also scored as well. They went in 2-1 at the break. So we were behind at the break, and then that man, the Professor, stepped up just before the 70th minute, sent the Watford faithful wild with an absolute pearler of a shot that was curled into the top corner. Unbelievable finish. That made it 2-2, and then another
similar strike to his goal away at Fulham, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I said that last week.
Yeah, it was very, very similar. Yeah, and then that man Joel Ekstrand didn't score many goals for Watford, but he got an
Mike's
important
favourite
one.
central defender.
He popped up with a header on 74 minutes. We're obviously ahead 3-2, thinking, "Oh, come on, lads, hang on." And then that man Clough again in the 85th minute pops up with an equalising goal, and the Bolton fans behind that goal, I just remember them going crazy and just looking around thinking, "Oh, for God's sake, I knew it was too good to be true." But yeah, up stepped that man Troy Deeney, who, I mean, we literally all love and will forever love. Up stepped Troy Deeney. He actually was a sub that game, believe it or not. He actually started on the bench. But he came on, pulled his socks up, and in added on time, sent a shot. I'm sure it went into the bottom corner across the other side to the away fans. And yeah, I mean, we just went potty again. I mean, it was just, I just remember coming out and thinking, what a week this has been for us. Two difficult away games, 2 injury time winners. I mean, it don't get much better than this. And yeah, I mean, that is my double B.
Well done, Joe. Pitched them very well. Well done. And for everyone who's not watching, this is from the 2014-2015 promotion winning season as well. So the same year as what Mike's mentioned as well. So both B away days, really, isn't it? Brighton, Bolton and Brentford. But 3 fantastic memories. I only did the Brentford one. I didn't go up to Bolton, but Brentford, that was my first time at Griffin Park as well, Joe. And that's such an old school ground. The away end, it was, if I remember, there was an upper and lower tier, wasn't there? And I was just a bit petrified, thinking that it doesn't really feel safe here, and I felt like the top tier was going to cave in at any point.
Yeah, it was such a weird ground, and actually, I was fortunate enough to go to Griffin Park quite a few times because someone in my family's a Brentford fan, and used to go and watch a few games every now and then there. And I was actually in the upper part, which actually was used as a home stand when they played Huddersfield in the playoffs many years ago. And yeah, it was a really great ground, and I think the uniqueness of it, you know, it was brilliant because it had a pub on each corner of the ground.
Yeah.
And you know, it was just something different. It just made an away day a bit more unique. I remember going there in pre-season many years ago, one of Jay Demerit's first years at Watford. So many years ago that. But yeah, it's a shame there isn't many more of these grounds around anymore, because I just think that is football. But
yeah,
didn't they have, because I've only been there once, and it wasn't for a Watford game. So my cousin, I think it was the 18-19 season. So our FA Cup final season, my cousin was match day announcer for Notts County. So he used to get us tickets for free. And they played, Notts County played Brentford in the FA Cup, if it's that season I'm thinking of. And they won. And I went along with him. And it was such an old school ground, because when you come out of the stadium, there's sort of just like nothing there, and then there's just some toilets. Like you ain't got, from memory, you ain't got your kiosks selling pies or drinks or whatever. It's literally just some stairs and then toilets. So, and like Joe said, it's proper old school, and there's not enough of them grounds still kicking about. And yeah, a lot of these stadiums now are the generic boldies. I mean, bloody hell, look at Everton's for that test event. I'd soulless in it, but hey ho, luckily we're not there yet.
yeah, but at least there's no poles in the way.
Yes, very true.
Oh,
He's done it again.
Yeah, he's muted himself again, Ben. I tried to unmute him, but
Sorry, I'm getting a bit excited because you might have seen I've just done a fist pump because we are recording on Wednesday evening and Plymouth Argyle have just equalised in the bottom of a table clash against Luton Town. So as it stands, it's Luton 1, Plymouth Argyle 1. I might have it on the stream now. Come on, Green Army. But yeah, oh, fuck, Luton nearly scored. Back to the podcast. Caity, what is your B for this week?
Well, I'm going to bring the mood down slightly as we've all obviously been reminiscing about fun times, but mine is actually for Ben Foster and his legacy at Watford. And I'm not going to be talking about when he first joined on loan because I actually wasn't alive, but we'll be talking about when he came back in 2018. So
You were alive. Come on, you were alive.
What, it was like 2004?
2006.
Okay, I was like 2 years old. Okay. I was basically not alive because I don't remember anything. But yeah, so he obviously came back in 2018. He started his YouTube channel when we were in the COVID lockdown. He would post matchday vlogs, including GoPro footage of games from the back of the goal. I mean, it started off quite good. It was very interesting. I think as fans, when we couldn't go to the games, we felt like it was a glimpse into like the match day. And it honestly got a lot of positive like reviews, a lot of positive stuff about him. And I think as fans, we thought it was a really cool thing that he did. However, we just started losing a lot. Things turned really sour. He started like praising other teams, filming him sort of receiving their shirts. Sorry, what caption? Oh yeah, he would like caption videos saying how good the other team was. Performance dropped from him, especially, and it pretty much, for me, I think it ruined his career at Watford. And I think most fans were quite happy to see him go. I think he tarnished quite a decent, people would say he was like a legend at Watford. I think it really tarnished that. And he now continues to pick at Watford on his podcast, where he continues to bring up random things that happened at the club with random guests like Andre Gray and Deeney, and sort of keep talking about Watford all the time and how negative it was for him. So I think if before that had happened, lots of people would have said he would have been a Watford legend, but I wouldn't necessarily say that after the whole GoPro incident. He really sort of tarnished it.
No, very good, Caity. I agree with every word you've just said. Joe, where do you stand on Ben Foster's legacy?
It's a really tough one, I think, because the first time he was with Watford, he was obviously a very young goalkeeper coming to us on loan from Manchester United. He was, I mean, if you take away the new period, I'd probably say he's one of my favourite keepers. But obviously, all that stuff that happened once he came back, all the GoPro stuff, and I still find it all baffling, to be honest, because it was just all like, some of the clips you'd see when he'd turn around and look at the camera and say something and just piss about during the game, and you're just kind of thinking, mate, this is a game of football. You're not down the park with your mates having a kick about. It just, yeah. I mean, I know he didn't do anything in situations where it was, it could have put us in any danger, but it's just the fact that you're a professional player. You should be concentrating on the game. Like, you shouldn't be worrying about a camera and doing all this theatrical stuff. And yeah, I just, like Caity said, now he does these podcasts, and for whatever reason, he loves to slag us off quite a bit, which I don't agree with. I find it all a bit upsetting, to be honest, because I remember speaking to him a few times coming out of Watford, and he always seemed like a really nice, genuine bloke. And I think, if I remember rightly, on his last game at Watford, I can't remember what happened after, but I was around the ground, and players were obviously coming out, and a lot of people were waiting for Ben Foster. But someone said that Foster was really didn't want to stick around, grabbed his stuff, and just fucked off, and he was gone. And he left within about 5-10 minutes of the game finishing, and that was him gone. I don't know how true that is, whether he went out another entrance and another exit and didn't want to be seen. But I remember someone, I can't remember which player it was, come out now and they said no, he left really quickly. So yeah, he didn't have any interaction with the fans after his last game at Watford. So yeah, I don't really. It's one of those. I think it's like another Ben Manga. I think there was some things that went on behind the scenes there, and I think, you know, I know he does slag off Watford a lot in podcasts. He does, but one that sticks out for me, and I watched it again actually the other day because I just wanted to listen to it again, was the one he did with Andre Gray recently. And I think rather than slag us off, there was some quite heartfelt things that were said in that kind of gave a picture of what was going on at the club at the time. So I do think there was the things that were going on that were deeper, and there was people there that were really disruptive, and I think affected players' mental health quite a lot. So yeah, it's just one of them things, unfortunately, but it's a shame, isn't it?
No, it definitely is a shame. Another thing that I think maybe damaged his legacy a little bit at Watford FC, after he became a bit more famous and was a celebrity and making friends with all the other YouTubers and everyone else in the world. Do you remember when Watford were at home to Liverpool and he decided to give free tickets to a Liverpool UFC fighter who then caused trouble in the home end, and then Ben Foster had to come out and like apologize for that? It's just just another stupid choice of Ben Foster.
I remember
that time
as well when we got relegated. I'm pretty sure from the Premier League, he was injured, and at Chelsea away, he was sat in the Chelsea end like with the fans. And I remember that was when like Dan Gosling scored in like the 85th minute or something, and then they won it again afterwards. But I remember people spotted him sitting with the Chelsea fans, like a fan basically, and it was like, surely you either stay with the club and you sit there, or you sit with the Watford fans. Like, it was very weird.
He was only thinking about his own agenda. It just seems like the last couple of years at Watford that he wasn't fully focused on being a footballer. He was just trying to sort out a career for himself after football. That's my personal opinion. I just thought that's what he was trying to look towards a little bit more. And don't get me wrong, Mike, at the start when the GoPro came out, it was exciting and it was fresh, and no one else had ever seen this kind of content before. Where do you stand with all of this, and what's your thoughts on Ben Foster? Obviously, you used to be a goalkeeper. You rate goalkeepers quite highly and have a special connection to him. What's your thoughts and feelings on Ben Foster?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of his legacy, I think Caity's done an outstanding job on highlighting everything there. So I don't think I need to bring any more up in that regard. There's just a few moments that sort of stick out for me during that time when Caity's talking about, which really didn't sit right with me. And I'm glad you brought up one of them, to be honest, because I was trying to remember them while you were speaking. I'm bound to forget one of these. The one of them I was thinking of was when he gave that Paddy the Baddie the tickets.
Yeah.
When Jamal Lowe scored and he was the first player to celebrate in front of the camera, he, as Caity alluded to, he changed his caption was about the fact that a player had celebrated in front. And it's like that's now gone past the point of really showing us behind the scenes to trying to get more views by saying, look, someone scored past me and he celebrated right in front of my camera. Really? Come on, mate. He used to regularly play the Fantasy Premier League. I believe there was an instance where maybe he had to get told by the club not to maybe mention it on his thing, and he was playing it during the Premier League season for Watford. Obviously, we didn't get the GoPro in the goal in the Premier League season because of because of the Premier League rights and showing it on YouTube, etc. But I think he was still playing FPL, and it raised a few eyebrows, especially if he was coming up against a player that he'd picked. And I'm not saying for 1 minute he was match fixing, but it's not a great look for one. One of the other memories, Arsenal away when we lost, I went to that game, and he said that he was buzzing for Aaron Ramsdale and winning and putting in such a good performance after they've just beaten us. And again, like, come on, mate, read the room. Like, don't go and, like, I get that he's very good mates and he wants to give him confidence, but not when you've just lost to him. Like, that doesn't sit right with me at all. And it is a shame because up until that point, his legacy was superb and he was one of my favourite Watford players. He really, really was. I remember sitting on this podcast speaking to Adrian Goldberg for the West Brom podcast for the game that we played him this season when we won 2-1. And I sort of mentioned a couple of players that have played for both. And I mentioned Ben Foster, and he actually said that he thought Ben Foster was the best goalkeeper that West Brom have had. So, you know, he really does rank highly for teams, you know, the way that he's played for teams. And I would say that he was one of the better goalkeepers I've seen at Watford. And you've highlighted here some of the videos. I mean, that penalty save one from Adam Armstrong, that was a brilliant video. And I loved seeing behind the scenes. I loved seeing what hotels they go to. You know, the hotels they went to when they played teams in Birmingham. He said, "Oh, we always stop at this one when we play in Birmingham." And I've since stopped in that hotel, and you know, you can see why it's a really nice hotel. Going back on that Adam Armstrong video, again, to nitpick, he told Adam Armstrong, "I knew you were going that way because you always do this, and whenever you do this, you go that way." It's like, come on, mate. What if he plays you again and he has a penalty, and you've just told him, you know, where he's going? So, yeah, really, really disappointed. And
You see some of these captions for these videos, like beaten by a 30-yard header. Like it's like he's proud of it.
Exactly. They scored in the first minute. He scored a 30-yard screamer. Watch Akinfenwa bully us. Like, mate, come on, really? So, yeah, it's a shame because, as Katie's rightly pointed out, it started off with great intentions and they were brilliant, but it soon got to the point of him wanting to get more views. And, yeah, he's gone down in my estimations now. So, yeah, it's a shame. Really is.
No, very, very good topic to end us on, Caity. Well done. So, yeah, as the same as last week's. Last week was letter A, and we all casted our vote at the end of that episode. We're doing the same for this week. So this week's was letter B, and I'm going to take it in turns and going around to everyone to cast their votes, and we'll see who wins this week. Mike is currently 1-0 up on the scoreboard. So I think Mike's just having a quick flick through to see what the categories.
I forgot who you said. Sorry, Ben. I was just checking.
Britos.
Yeah.
But yeah, some really good solid ones in there. I think we've upped our games from last week. So yeah, well done everyone. So I am going to come to Caity first this time. I came to her last time. So I'll come to you first this time, Caity. Who is your vote going towards this week?
It's gonna have to go to Mike again. I think the Brighton away game is obviously very important game in Watford's history. I mean, everyone's was really, really good as well, I think. But yeah, that one has obviously lots of positive memories surrounding it.
No, good vote. Mike's 1-0 up at the moment.
Thank
Joe,
you.
where's your vote heading towards?
We're not allowed to vote for ourselves, are we?
No, unfortunately not.
No, you cheating bastard.
If we could, I would have won last week's.
Yeah, I'd probably go for I'd probably go Brighton away then.
Brighton away. So Mike now has 2 votes. Cam has actually voted. Mike's just put a message into the group chat quickly, and Cam's vote has gone for Ben Foster's legacy. So well done, Caity. You've brought it back to 2-1. He's
hammered you, Ben, in that message.
He's brought you right up. He said, I outlined the topics, and he goes, Miguel Britos is M. So I guess it's Ben Foster.
Cam. No words. So, Joe, where's your
Joe voted for me.
So he did.
I was next. It's all good, Ben. I'm here. My vote goes to Caity for Ben Foster's legacy. It was spot on. Some really good topics again. That Bolton game, I alluded to it in letter A when I was talking about Aman Abdi. The Brentford game was brilliant. I remember listening to that on Hive Live, John Marks' commentary, and Miguel Britos, what a player he was. So some really, really strong topics, and with 2 letters in. So as I said last week, and I'll say it again, we really are. If this is the quality that we're starting with, we're going to be in for one hell of an alphabet here. But yeah, Caity gets my vote hands down, because everything I think about Ben Foster and more was covered in what she said. So yeah, two each.
Oh, it's a Desmond, everyone. It's a Desmond. The boys that have Do Not Scratch Your Eyes will be loving this. They love a Desmond. So I have the deciding vote then tonight. Both brilliant categories. Both pitched perfectly as well. I'm loving the passion from both of you. But going basically purely off, I guess, emotion for myself, I will annoyingly have to go for Mike, and that pains me to say it, because I don't want him to be 2-0 up. And I'm so sorry, Caity, but the Brighton memories that I will have will just live with me forever. Whereas Ben Foster, I could go weeks or months without thinking about him. So unfortunately, I've gone for Brighton. I've gone for Brighton. 14-15 season, that promotion winning season. So Mike is now 2-0 up in the Voices of the Vic, Watford A to Z. Going well so far, isn't it?
Yeah. I joked about it in the group chat yesterday. But but honestly, they've all been strong topics. I'd love to keep this up, but I don't think I will. I think there's going to be some belters coming up, and I'm going to have to start getting my thinking hat on to try and pull out some more good ones. So, yeah, let us see next. So, if we're going to do it the way that we've done it tonight, I assume it'll be C and D recorded on the same evening. So, I better get thinking. But yeah, thanks for the votes, and yeah, get yours in if you're watching in the comments.
No, this has been a laugh. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you, everyone, for getting involved with your categories. They've been superb. And like Mike says, we've only just scratched the surface. We've got 24 letters to go. We're looking to record maybe 2 a week and release them once a week. So then we've got some stacked up just in case we all can't record 1 week. So, but again, get involved in our comments. We'd love to hear what you've selected as B for your Watford A to Z topic. But yeah, thank you for watching. Really do appreciate it. Leave us a like. If you haven't subscribed yet already, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button and join us next time when we are discussing the letter C. Stay safe and come on, you Owens.